Hi there, my name is Laura Hunter Drago, and I am the creator and writer of The Crime at Camp Ashwood. You also might recognize my voice because I play Margot in the series. So I like to do this at the end of a podcast, sit down, do a little Q&A, and also make it a video episode so that you can put a face to a voice. Since you have been listening to us for the last however many months you've been listening, sometimes it's nice to have a visual. So you can listen to this episode as an audio episode if that's your preferred way, but you can also go on Spotify or YouTube and check out the video version if you would like to say hello and see our faces. Secondly, if you have not listened to the whole series of The Crime at Camp Ashwood, or you haven't started it yet, please don't listen to this episode until you've listened to the entire series, because we will be talking about spoilers. As a writer, and because this is a mystery, you really don't want to be spoiled. So if you have not finished the series yet, please do that before you do this episode. So I'm going to be answering a few questions that you guys have sent in about the series, and then we'll be talking to our other cast members so that you can get to know them really quickly and find out how to learn more about them, because they're all amazing, and I want you to see their faces too. So first things first, I want to talk about the song that closes the series. There is a great little moment for our Miss Sadie, who, I don't know, I think it's up to interpretation, but as the writer, I feel like she's sort of, her spirit is kind of still permeating the camp. And we have our Hallie Smith, who is a singer who plays Sadie, sing an a cappella version of a song called Home Away from Home. And we did that in a very, I say it's like the sad girl autumn version of the song is in the last episode of the series. But we also recorded and fully produced a camp style version of the song, which I think is very fun and upbeat. And that is separately available anywhere you listen to music, but we're going to play it here through Spotify so that you can hear the full upbeat, exciting version of Home Away from Home, the Crime at Camp Ashwood song. So I thought it would be fun to start this episode out with that.
Blue Ridge Mountains, you'll find my memories among the birds and trees, a place where I am free. At Ashwood, my home away from home. And of the friends I've made, the best of all was you. A sister over s'mores, a piece of living proof that all year long awaited those sweet summer nights. You're far away, but always on my side. Writing my memories among the birds and trees, a place where I am free. At Ashwood, my home away from home.
Okay, so that's the song. Hallie came in and recorded that with me in the studio. I wrote the lyrics. We did it up at RK Studios up near where I live in Los Angeles County. And it was a super fun experience, just something totally different. I've never written a song before, and I just thought it was a nice little ending to the show, and also a companion piece to have like the camp song version, because camp songs were a huge part of my own summer camp experience as a kid. I was a big camper. We'll talk about that more. But I thought it would be cool to just have a little extra piece of content. So I hope you guys enjoy it and listen to it. And, you know, it's a great introduction to the series, I think, for people that haven't heard it yet. So if you're telling your friends about this, you can tell them about the camp song too. Anyway, let's get down to the questions that you guys sent in. First off, someone asked, what made you write this? Why is it a podcast? That's a good question. The reason I wrote this show is because I was a camper. I did go to camp in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, let's not get weird. That was a great experience. Nobody died at that camp. I'm not going to name the camp. It's no longer in Asheville. They moved somewhere else. But it was an amazing experience, very big part of my life growing up. And so I've always wanted to write about the area and also just about sort of the nature of being a camper. I assume a lot of people who listen to the show are also campers, and I think it's like a certain breed, especially someone that starts going to sleepaway camp like for long periods at a very young age. I think it's a specific type of person. And it was just such a cool, unique experience. And I feel like anybody who is a camper or was a camper knows that you just get to know people really quickly in a really almost like family kind of way, like sisters. And so I think for Margot and Veronica and Sadie, that was sort of like their bond, is just this really strong and intense periods of hanging out together over the summer without your parents, where you're sort of first learning how to navigate the world as an individual rather than within your blood relatives. And so I just kind of wanted to write about that time. And I also really wanted to write about North Carolina and Asheville. I think it's such a beautiful area. I can like close my eyes and still smell the grass and see the mountains. I haven't been there in years, but I still like have a really strong feeling of the place. And so I was excited to write about that. The reason it's a murder mystery is because that is what I typically write about. I'm also a film screenwriter, and I usually stay in that sort of thriller, mystery, crime genre. And so that's why this included that. So why is it a podcast? That's a good question. The main reason is that I think there's a really cool thing happening right now in the podcast world and in the fiction podcast world where it's sort of still the Wild West, and you kind of have free reign to make something that you're just passionate about without waiting for any sort of quote unquote gatekeepers to give you permission to do it. And for me, I didn't start writing until later in life. And I just wanted to have something that was sort of all mine, that I could kind of show run and do everything for, and get out into the world without having to have a huge budget for it, quite honestly. And I've really been recommending to like other writer friends that if they are feeling that way and just sort of want to get something out and to have sort of complete creative control, that a podcast is an awesome way to do that. And also, I have a production company called New Girl Pictures with one of my very best friends from all the way back in high school, Samantha Mocker. She and I worked on another podcast together that has done quite well. It's called St. Mary's School for Children with the Stigmata. It's a horror podcast. It's also not a camp show, but it is a boarding school for girls. So kind of like similar vibes in more of in like the science fiction-y horror genre, whereas this is more like real world crime genre. So if you were, finishing Ashwood and like, oh, I wish I had another similar show to listen to, I feel like because I also produce and do the sound and also play one of the voices in that show, you might also like it. So check out St. Mary's School for Children with the Stigmata if you're looking for something new to listen to. It's if you're on Spotify, the first host recommended show on our More Like This section of our page. So you can find that pretty easily there. And so, yeah, we had made St. Mary's and had a really great response and just have enjoyed that whole process of being able to sort of interact with listeners over the internet pretty easily, find out what they like, what they don't like, and grow the show from there. And I think that's been a really rewarding process. So I had learned a lot from doing that and learned that there was an audience that was waiting for these sort of fully cast, almost radio play like audio TV shows, which is what I feel like this is. And so this seemed just like the natural thing to do next. I have been editing the audio myself. I love doing it. It's pretty fun. And so I knew I could do that. I knew I could cast it. And yeah, it was just like, this can get made immediately and be put out there. And so to have it get a good response, this show, the script for it won the Austin Film Festival Fiction Audio Award last year, and that was really exciting. So it's been a really cool process, and I'm glad that we made it a podcast, because I think if it wasn't a podcast, it wouldn't be out in the world yet. I'd still be waiting. So that's just something to think about if you're a creator. Okay, so next question. What are some of the show's most important themes to you as the writer? So I think that there obviously is this murder mystery, crime solving happening in the show. But to me, what the series really is about is kind of the intense nature of especially female friendships during our youth and how that sort of translates into who we become and influences us as adults. And I think another thing that for me the show is really about is how we all have our own ideas of the narratives of both of ourselves and of our friends. And so we don't always necessarily see people clearly. We sort of see this story that we've written about them. And I think the most sort of obvious character in this who exemplifies that is June, who is literally performing these ghost stories that are about domestic violence and a bad boyfriend. And instead of sort of just being honest about the fact that she is experiencing those things in real life, she's making up a story about them, and as sort of a way, I feel, to get out this secret that she's keeping. To that same end, you've got someone like Sadie, who comes across as this bubbly girl with kind of a perfect life, at least to Margot and Veronica. And I think Margot, her journey in this series as an adult is realizing that someone can be all of those things, happy, bubbly, popular, and still have something really deep going on, something, much different than you would have assumed by the story that you'd written about them. So that for me is the sort of overarching theme of the show, is just about how we all have to look a little deeper and see past our biases and the stories that we write about other people in our minds. Next question. What is your favorite moment in the series? So I have a couple. What I'm going to do, because I think it's not fair, I can't just pick one, is because I think I have maybe one for each. When I introduce you to the actors, I'm going to mention my favorite moment that they each have in the season. But I will say that my favorite overall moment, just because it was a fun build up and I think it's a cool reveal, is at the end of episode 7, the dance, when Margot finds the map made of invisible ink. It's just fun. I had an enjoyable time creating the groundwork for that one, and I also had kind of forgotten about invisible ink and how cool it is. So that was just a fun thing to play with. It felt very summer camp. We did literally have invisible ink at my summer camp that we used to write secret notes to each other, not about murder, but just about boys that we liked or whatever. So yeah, that was a really fun one for me, and I thought it was a good little cliffhanger to end an episode on. Next question is, how much do you think June really knew about Rick's past? I think June is a really interesting character, and I think she maybe knew more than we would like to believe that she knew, because it makes you question her character and her morals if she hasn't come forward in all this time. But I do think it may have been more of a subconscious knowing than an actual knowing. I think often when people are in relationships that are not healthy, they are sort of having to blind themselves just to survive it. And I think that is, in my opinion, what her experience was, that I think she knows that this person would be capable of something like that, but she sort of pushed it to the back of her mind so she doesn't have to deal with it. So to me, I think she is culpable in this 20-year period that we've been waiting to find out who the murderer is. But I do think she's also a victim in the situation and has been, brainwashed and been through so many things. So it's a very gray area for me, and that's just what makes her kind of an interesting little thing to think about. I would love to know what other people think about that, how much they feel like she was responsible, not for what happened to Sadie, but for the length of time that it's taken to solve the case. Just curious. I like to know what people think. Next up, how did you decide how Sadie's murder would be revealed in the finale? This was something I spent a lot of time with. I actually wrote 2 different versions of the last episode. One version had Veronica, played by our lovely Misha Brooks, who we'll hear from later, actually hypothesize about what might have happened. And her guesses as to what might have happened were very close to the fully written scene that we actually end up hearing in the show. But I had considered not having the scene with Rick and Sadie fully play out and leaving it more open to interpretation. I just felt like we actually recorded both ways and I listened to it both ways, and I think it's more satisfying as an audience member, I hope so, to actually hear the full scene play out and know what happened. And so in a way, the audience ends up knowing what happened more than Veronica and Margot do, because that scene is not something that they're seeing or hearing. It's something that's happening just like a memory from the past for Sadie, really. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting, it's sort of a hard decision to make as a writer of how much you show of something like that. But I felt like in this case, I did myself really want to know like actually what happened to her. And especially because in that scene, I feel like even though something horrible happens to Sadie and she does end up dying, I think she also had this moment of taking back her own voice and her, saying, I'm not going to let you do this to me. I'm going to sing it from the rooftops. So we do hear that she fought back. And I felt like that was important rather than leave that open to interpretation, that like she did in that moment realize she had people who loved her and that she didn't need to be in this. So regardless of what happened, she did in that moment, like say, I'm not going to end up being this person. So this is a question I've gotten from multiple people. And it is, will the series continue past season 1? This is a tough one for me. I wrote this as a limited series. We've actually had interest from people in developing it as a television show or a feature, which I'm super open to and would be fantastic. But I also love our podcast audience and love this format. This did have an ending, a true ending. The final episode 12, we have the closure, and that's how it was written, was to end there. I do have in my mind some ideas for what life might be like for Margot as she takes over Camp Ashwood and opens it back up. And I do wonder a little bit if those Misty Willis stories had more truth to them than we might have guessed, and if there might be some ghostly happenings at Camp Ashwood. So I think that there's some opportunity to explore that a little bit down the road. I don't know if and when that will happen, but we'll see how much people are clamoring for more of the show. I'm so appreciative of people who've left comments and reviews saying that they would like to spend more time with these characters. I love them too. And so I'm open to that, and we'll see what happens down the road. It might be more like standalone kind of ghost story episodes in the camp, but we'll see. I'm just putting it out there. This has closure. This has ended, but there is, I think, some opportunity for a possible continuation of the series in a different form. So that's what I'll say for now. And definitely keep following our page. Don't unsubscribe, because we may do more and I don't want you to miss it. So that's why I'm telling you that. I haven't totally decided either way, but I love that there's possibility. Any tips for people hoping to make their own audio fiction podcast? Yeah, so many tips. I would say number 1 is just jump in, because I was just at a podcasting conference a few weeks ago and just completely inspired by people who are making things in all areas, not just fiction, but the, interview shows, and they're all in these really specific areas of interest that you would never see on television, just like super niche audiences. And it's created this sort of open place where you can make anything and you can find an audience for anything. And if you can learn some of the skills that are required, audio editing, you can hire someone for that, but you can also teach yourself. That's what I did. You can cast things, if you have a radio play, or you even have like a piece of theater that you would just like to get out there, almost like a table read. I'm just a huge proponent of not waiting for people to give you permission to do things. So if you have an idea and you want to make something, you should just do it. And it doesn't take a huge amount of money or resources like a film often does to do a podcast. It still does take time, work, and resources, but it's more achievable, I think, than some of the other media forms. So yeah, just do it. And hey, reach out. I'm happy to give advice or look at things, consult or whatever. But yeah, make your stuff. I'm excited to listen to it. Okay, so last question is, what was the casting process like for this? That was so fun for me. I love casting things. I was an actress. I guess I still sort of am because I played Margot in this, but I was like an auditioning actress for many years. And so I love actors and I love working with them. And I was so excited about who we had for this. We ended up just with some really special people who were involved, and I would like you to meet them. So I'm going to talk about each of them and how they ended up being on the show, and then we will do a quick, like, 5-minute little interview with them that you will see intercut between these introductions. So first up, we have Deborah Lee Smith, who plays June in the series. Deb and I are actually really good friends, and so I've known her for about 8 years. We just have been friends and not really worked on anything professionally together, just kind of supported each other's projects, and this seemed like a good opportunity for us to actually do something together. So this was super fun. Deb has these amazing camp counselor vibes just as a person, which is like a very high compliment. Everybody who's been to camp knows. And so I thought that she would be perfect for this, and it made it really fun. I'm glad I got to do something with a friend. And my favorite June moment in this series is probably, I mean, it's hard to, all of the ghost stories are so amazing and I feel like are just such a fun part of the show. And Deb did such a great job with the performance quality of those and just making them these big moments that you could see a group of girls getting excited for every night and like being left on a cliffhanger. But I think probably my favorite moment for her is the episode June and July, episode 11, where we really find out this whole underlying backstory that we've sort of been building to with June, that is one of the bigger reveals in the series. I think Deb does a great job of laying that monologue out there, and you really do feel for her. And even though, as we talked about, that I think the character has some culpability in this 20-year period of waiting to find out who the murderer is, you can really start to understand her and see the gray area in that. And that, to me, is just really interesting and sad too. It's a sad story of someone that sort of had these grand plans and ideas, and just the nature of her life and the path that she's been on hasn't allowed her to explore it. And then we find out that she actually is going to give it another go, which I think is beautiful and cool. So I love that episode, and yeah, Deb does a great performance in it. So let's meet her.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, Laura.
Okay, so how did you end up playing June?
Well, I auditioned for a few of the different characters. I have to admit that June was definitely one that I kind of went right for. As a camper myself, I was like a big kid counselor camper, and I was always the kid that like straddled between wanting to be a counselor and wanting to be a kid. I was always like a rule follower, but then also wanted to be like cool. And so definitely June's mentality around things and just the way she was written, I kind of gravitated towards her character right away.
Okay, so you already kind of asked my next question.
I wondered.
Which is, did you ever go to summer camp as a kid, and do you have a favorite memory from camp?
Ooh, yes, I did. I went to a lot of different summer camps as a kid. My mom was a teacher, and so I think that was like her time off in the summer, so she was like, please go to camp. So I actually have time. I have real time off. I went to a lot of Girl Scout camps because I was a big Girl Scout kid, and I would go to horseback riding Girl Scout camp every summer for like 5 summers in a row, which was just amazing because I love horses, and I like got really good at riding horses, taking care of them. And then actually after one summer I ended up getting a job. Like one of the instructors asked if I would come and work on her ranch like back in LA at home. So it was really cool because I got this opportunity to branch out my camp experience into the real world, which was really fun. And yeah, it was just a memory that has always stuck with me.
I did not know you rode horses.
Yeah. I will be in a Western one day.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
I know you definitely look like you could be in a Western. Okay, what other projects do you have coming up, Deb?
Ooh. Oh gosh, I have a lot of projects coming up. I do a lot of different things. I'm a writer and a producer as well as an actor. So I've got a couple different producing projects under my belt right now. I have a producing project that is just in theaters and is about to land on a very big streamer in the summer, which is a documentary about reading Rainbow. And then I have a new documentary that I'm in the middle of post-production on right now called Sell Your House. And then I've got a couple of scripts that I'm in the midst of like finalizing and then ready to take them out that I will be starring in. And then I just finished a short last week that I produced and starred in that is kind of a passion project and kind of a showcase for a couple of the different members of the people who are a part of that script, because we're going to take that. It's not really a proof of concept for a larger script, but it's basically a proof of ability, because we need the director of that is going to be the director for one of our features, and so we need to be able to show that like the director can do directorial things, because it's really important in Hollywood to be able to show that you can do the thing that you already know that you, and you know that as an actor as well. I find that it's really important for me to continue making my own work. And that's why I admire my friends like Laura who are making their own work, because I think that it's so important to tell the stories that we want to tell in an avenue and in a space that we want to tell them without, you know, necessarily outside influence that's watering things down, because it just allows us to embrace our true voice.
Oh, great answer.
Thank you.
You're such a badass. Okay, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on social media. My handle is Deborah, DEBORAH_L Smith. That's also my Twitter or X or whatever. You can also find me on Facebook. And I also have a podcast called More Than You See, which is about having creative conversations with creatives, like actors, producers, people in the industry about mental health. And that's called More Than You See. And you can find that on all of the handles and all podcasting platforms.
Okay, so next up we have Misha Brooks, who plays Veronica in the show. Misha came to me through the traditional sort of audition process we had on the normal casting breakdown sites. We got a ton of submissions. I mean, I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of amazing people. It was really hard to go through. Misha was such an interesting find because I immediately really loved her voice. I loved the humor that she brought to Veronica, who quite honestly was a pretty small character when I first wrote the pilot, and ended up being a much bigger part of the series because of Misha and how much I just enjoyed writing for her and her voice. The funniest thing about her to me is that she plays this sort of nerdy character on the show, like kind of a shy girl as a teenager. As an adult, I think she's much stronger, and Misha does an amazing job of playing both sides of that. But Misha is like the most interesting woman in the world. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. She has this crazy backstory. I'm not gonna like put her whole life on here, but she is so smart and also just beautiful. And I just go look her up. Like, go look her up, because when I looked up her Instagram account when she auditioned, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to, not only already do I want to cast her, but I really like want to know this person because she seems so cool. My favorite Veronica moment in the series is episode 5, called Veronica V Card. It's one of my favorite monologues in the show, and she talks about her cousins making fun of her for never having a boyfriend and calling her Veronica V Card. It's just a lighter moment in the show, but also I think a real, again, this seeing more to someone than we assumed about them. You know, you think that she is just sort of this boy crazy girl who can't get over the fact that she's not dating anybody as a kid, but actually she's being bullied, and she does have this sort of deep wound around it. So those moments in the show were really important to me. So anyway, let's meet Misha. Oh, hi, Misha. How did you end up playing Veronica in Ashwood?
Oh, like logistically?
No, just like, how did you come to the part? How did you find it? How did you, like, were you just looking through?
Yes. So if I remember correctly, I believe it was on Actors Access. And I actually, was funny, I was like, I actually was in Tokyo at the time, and I was just looking and I was like, let me just, be an active actor and look at what's out there. And yeah, so I have my own mic set up, but I hadn't actually done like this kind of job before. And so I was super excited to be able to apply to it when I found it. So yeah, submitted my little take And yeah, I was thankfully chosen. It was wonderful.
So wait, were you had your recording stuff with you in Tokyo?
Yes. So I
Wow.
brought my, yeah. So I was like, I was like, I never know what's gonna be out there. But a lot of like, I think voice acting auditions are for like commercials, right? So
Yes, yeah.
narrative, even though that's the stuff that I think is the most exciting, that and like
Yeah.
video games, and you're just like, ah, yes, I want to be this person. So I had it for that. So
Okay.
yeah, I had my own microphone and I would use the closet to like record. But then I
Yes.
realized that like my room actually, there was a corner that was perfectly, like the resonance was perfect. So I didn't actually have to hide in the closet.
Well, that's good. It's good not to have to be in the closet and just, I know Hallie was talking about, she did like a demo version of the song for me in her closet. She was like, this is not, we can't. I was like, okay, we'll go to a studio for the song. So, did you go to summer camp as a kid or anything like that? And if you did, do you have a favorite memory?
I went to summer camp, but I only was allowed to go to day camp. So I actually have never done the overnight. It was always this like thing that other kids were allowed to do. My mom's very much way too overprotective for that. It was not going to happen. So my sister and I, we went to day camp, but it was in the woods, Camp Ponkapog in
Mm.
Massachusetts in the Blue Hills. And I have multiple memories of just like random things. Like there's a boardwalk going out into the lake, and I was not paying attention, and I walked off the boardwalk, landing in basic, essentially like up to my chest in mud, and then had to we walked back and they had to give me like a giant extra t-shirt to wear for the rest of the day before my mom picked me up. So that was fun. Um, and just like
That's
really
great.
random things. I had a retainer at the time. I accidentally threw my retainer out the lunch tray. And so we had to like empty out the entire trash bag searching for it. And then they just
No,
like, hosed it off and I put it back in my mouth.
no.
So like, yeah, summer camp shenanigans. We
Just getting into trouble with your mouth guard. I was always like purposely trying to lose my mouth guard because I didn't want to wear that thing.
so I almost achieved that, but
You tried. Good
alas,
job. That's so
alas.
funny.
So
So
yeah,
wait,
no
was it a
romance.
camp where some people were overnight and you were just during the day?
So no, this was like a full on just like day camp. I think
Okay.
it was through like YMCA or
Okay.
adjacent, like one
Yeah,
of
that
those.
would be better than like you weren't allowed to stay overnight, but everybody else
Oh
was.
no,
That
yeah.
would have
That
been
would be, that would
sad.
be really sad.
Yeah.
So sad. I also went to zoo camp once.
Zoo camp?
Zoo camp. So in the
What's zoo?
like so yeah, so I grew up in Boston, right? So like the Franklin Park Zoo, they would have camp, summer camp, and so you'd go and like you could go behind the scenes with the animals and like help feed them sometimes
Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
you did a lot of coloring, you did a lot of like walking around. I traded my like Pokemon with my game, did all that.
That's awesome. Zoo camp. That's very cool. Okay, so what do you have coming up next? Any projects that you're working on or anything you're
That's
excited
a good
about?
question. In the immediate future, I have two short films that I'm in similar capacities and very different capacities. So one of them I'm actually working on myself. So my first short
Nice.
film that I've co-written and I'm executive producing
Good for
and
you.
also acting in as one of the leads. And so that has been exciting, terrifying, and fulfilling in that process.
What's it about? Or do you want to, is it
Yeah.
spoilery?
So the title is Merfolk.
Okay.
And we'll say this is definitely speaks to, I think most creatives have always desired to not lose this, which I think is that like the child, when you're a child, you have this joy for life and creativity and just embracing play and that concept. And I always was really bewildered about why it was that as soon as you become an adult, you're supposed to lose that and you're not allowed to, enjoy the wonder and imagination that you used to have. And yeah, you're not allowed to maintain it. So this is very much speaks to that where our main character, she decides with the help of her friend to give up her kind of high-powered lawyer career to become a professional mermaid comedy short film. Yeah, so
That
I'm
sounds
really excited.
great. I'm
Really
assuming you've seen the Netflix documentary, The Mermaid. Yeah, it's fabulous. I'm
amazing.
forgetting the name of it right now, but it is fabulous. It's so, so interesting.
I think that
We
one's
have a cousin whose family has a house in that town in Florida where like all the mermaids, I forget the name of it's like Wishy Washy or something like that. Sounds mermaidy. But
yes.
yeah, it's fascinating. Okay,
Fascinating. And then also I'm
sure.
starring as the villain of a horror comedy short.
Oh,
So that one I just act as
fun.
a bit of an undead person. So
Oh, that's super fun. Oh, I'm excited. You're gonna have to send me stuff when you have it and I can watch. Okay, so where can people find you online?
you can find me on, I want to say, every single social media platform pretty much by my full name, Misha Brooks. And yeah, Instagram, gonna be better at TikTok. I'm gonna do more things, but yeah, you can find me on all the social media. And then I have my own like personal website, mishabrooks.com. So very straightforward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, what's a murder mystery without its victim? We have our Sadie, played by Hallie Smith. Hallie is a fantastic actress, and she came to me the same way that Misha did through the casting sites, and I had also made that section of actors who were auditioning for Sadie sing a song as part of their audition because originally I thought we were gonna go big and license a song. We didn't do all that. I ended up writing an original song because I was like, I can't have made these girls all audition with singing and not use their voices, especially because when I heard Hallie's voice in her audition, I was just blown away. She's so talented. It was so fun to record with her in the studio. That's her harmonizing with herself on the song, and she made all those harmonies up on the spot. She's just super talented, sweet girl, great energy, and she brought this real interesting quality to Sadie that I hadn't so much seen when I was writing it, where in the description of Sadie, she is listed as the Serena Vanderwoodson of campers, just like those vibes. But Hallie brought this sort of sassy strength to her, which I loved because I think it's really important that we see that she's also this tough girl. She's been through so much. We find out that I thought it was a much more interesting take on the character than having her just be this sort of happy-go-lucky, bubbly, sweet girl that I had originally written her as. So Hallie brought this depth to it that I thought was really exciting. I think my favorite Sadie moment, oh, that's a tough one in the series. I think her monologue in episode 3, Initiation, where she's talking about her trip with Paul to the tree, which is sort of this genuine romantic moment. I think in hindsight, especially knowing what happens to her and what she's been through, it's actually really cool that she had that experience. And I love the way Hallie performs it. And it's just a sweet, very real sort of reaction from a teenager.
So, hi, Hallie.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Okay, so how did you end up playing Sadie?
So I've been in LA for a couple years now, and I've been submitting to jobs a lot just through Actors Access and different various submission sites. And I saw this project pop up, and I've done a voiceover industrial before, but I haven't gotten to do anything that was narrative, and I love murder mysteries, so it really excited me. Um, and yeah, I saw this posting and I decided to submit for it. And then, I got an audition and
You were
I,
great.
I remember exactly how it started and went, and I could like do an imitation of it. Carolina on my mind.
That's
I
funny.
really had fun doing it. I was like, oh, even though I'm in my closet using my clothes as like noise dampeners, this is really fun.
That's great. I love the visual of you
Yeah.
in your closet doing it. I didn't
Oh,
realize you were a big murder mystery fan. So how is it to play the girl that dies?
yeah. I love like Knives Out. I love Agatha Christie stories. I love like a cozy murder mystery moment. But yeah, and then I feel like I kind of forgot that I had even submitted that audition because as an actor, that's kind of it's kind of the goal, honestly. You know, you do however many auditions you have in the week, and you're just kind of constantly going on to the next one and just trying to do your best to be prepared for each one, and like eventually everything kind of slips your mind. And then I think you emailed me, or I can't even remember how how.
Yeah, I think I reached out through the whatever the messaging system
Yeah.
on
Okay.
breakdowns is. But yeah, I do remember because you were the only one that Sadie was the only character that we had singing auditions
Yeah.
for. And so I got to hear your lovely voice. And then
Yes.
thus we
Yep.
have
And,
the
was it
song that ends the series, which was also
John
really fun.
Denver?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Caroline.
Yeah. The pipe dream of being able to like get the rights to
I know.
Caroline on My
You know
Mind, which
what's
we did not
what's
do.
kind of funny? I didn't really know that song before, which might
It's a
make me
great song.
a little uncultured. But I
No.
had to look it up and learn it. I was like, um,
Well, you sang it very well. All right. So did you go to summer camp at all as a kid? And do you have like a
you know
favorite
what?
summer camp memory?
I did go to summer camp. It's all a little blurry because I was pretty young, and I can't remember. Sometimes it was related to Girl Scouts, but I ended up quitting Girl Scouts because I was like, this is too much of a commitment. I need to be a kid. Um,
That's funny.
but I did go to a couple of sleepaway camps, and I remember one of them, I think it was called Jockey Hollow in New Jersey, and I just remember going in the lake and using canoes and hiking in the woods. I loved being outdoors. I hated that the bunks, it was like so hot in there, like it just like did not cool down because it is humid and hot in New Jersey in the summer. And I remember I could never pass the swim test.
That
Like,
was so stressful. I remember that
yeah,
too. That was like a big deal.
I wasn't allowed in the deep end.
Yeah, we had like different colored bands and you had to wear
We
that
had different colored
all camp. So you
swim.
were like branded.
Yeah, no, I think I was always red. I don't think I ever made it to green or blue. So in some ways I guess you could consider that traumatic, but it's actually just kind of funny. Like I was also very small. Like I just couldn't do it, and
You
that's
just
okay.
weren't a swimmer. It's fine.
I like to think I'm better now.
I'm sure you are.
But the jury's probably still out on that one.
Okay, so do you have any other projects coming up that you want to tell people about?
Yeah, I just wrapped up ADR for a feature film that I was in called The Bitcoin Executor. We shot in Miami, which was really fun. And yeah, we'll see. There's a potential that it might premiere publicly this summer. And if so, I will definitely be shouting from the rooftops because that would be really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, but that's definitely in the like finishing stages of being edited. And then I'm also a writer and producer, director. I've kind of got so many hats, you know.
Yeah.
We're wearing a lot of hats around here.
Hmm.
But I made my own short film called Fior di Fossa. It's about two women in Renaissance Italy who used to be friends and now the odds have turned against them. And it's basically a dreamy romantic thriller um to see, you know, how badly can they hurt each other and still come back from it.
Interesting.
Um, yes, so we've screened at a couple of film festivals, and I think we might be getting ready to share that publicly soon. So keep it
Fun. Oh, I
for
can't
that.
wait to see that. That sounds
Yeah,
really, really cool.
got some other ideas percolating, but
Yeah.
I'll share those more as they become a little more concrete. But yeah,
Very
definitely
cool.
excited about what's going on right now.
Very, very cool. Okay, so where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram at Hallie Rose Smith, HallyrOsesmith. They can find me on Facebook, Hallie Smith, and at my website, halliesmith.com. I also have a couple of songs on SoundCloud if you're
Ooh,
really invested. I didn't write them, they're from musical theater demos that I've done in college, but I'm sure if you Google that, you can find it too if you're really interested.
super
Uh,
cool.
yeah. Oh, I also have a YouTube channel, which I think is at Hallie Rose Smith. I want to say is my handle there as well.
Very cool. All right. Well, awesome. Thanks for coming and saying hi.
for having me. Thanks for casting me. Thanks for being cool and writing.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being in it. It's like an awesome performance, and I'm
Oh,
so glad
it
we
was so
had you.
fun. And I will say, yeah, listening back to it, I was like, oh,
A lot. Yeah. Yeah.
hard.
It's a lot. It's a lot at the end. I'm sure people are also surprised to hear your voice without the accent too. That's always
Oh, yeah. Don't have a Southern accent, but I hope it was convincing enough that you
very
would
convincing. Yes.
accent. If not, if I've offended anybody, I'm so sorry.
No. They need to calm
Just a
down.
Southern Belle part of the time.
Okay, so thanks so much for tuning in for this little bonus episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's so nice to meet you all over video. Please leave comments, and if you have additional questions about the series or things that you would like to see, if you want to see more, let us know. And if you haven't already, one request: please give us a rating and a review when you get a chance, and share the show with your friends. We would love for more people to know about it. I think it's a great thing to watch over the summer. Watch. I say watch all the time about this. It's listen. I know that. But anyway, please share. Let everybody know about the show. We so appreciate your listening. It's awesome to have people passionate about the things that you're passionate about and excited about the things that you're making. So it just completely warms my heart and brings immeasurable joy to me that people have enjoyed this, and I just couldn't possibly thank you enough. Until the next time, we'll let you know what we have coming up next. But if you want to find out more about other projects we have coming up, we're planning on doing a short film and a feature film in the next couple of years. And we also have a feature film out called To the New Girl. It's on Tubi as well as a couple of other platforms. You can find out more about that at tothenewgirl.com. There's also both of our production companies, newgirlpictures.com and dragonhunterproductions.com. So check us out there. If you go to thecrimeatcampashwood.com, I know this is a lot of .coms, but if you go to thecrimeatcampashwood.com, there's some fun merch like the t-shirt I'm wearing if you're into that sort of thing. But there's also a place to sign up for a mailing list so that you can be notified about future things that we do. And we'll also be doing a fun giveaway on that for a piece of merch in the next month. So if you want to sign up to possibly win something fun, go to thecrimeatcampashwood.com and do that right now, and we will see you when we see you. Thanks so much, guys.
High in the Blue Ridge Mountains, you'll find my memories. Among the birds and trees, a place where I am free. At Ashwood, my home away from home. And of the friends I've made, the best of all was you. A sister over s'mores, a piece of living proof that all year long awaiting those sweet summer nights. You were far away